Let's talk about JP heaters now that we are 1 year into actually using them in anger and having fitted a couple for customers and all that sort of stuff. Hey folks, welcome to the Offgrid workshop. My name's Nigel, and this is about the time where we first fitted the first JP heater that we have used into my dad's motorhome. And now that we're a year in, we thought we'd give you guys an update, just an honest review on our experience and whether we would recommend the JP heater, if we could go back, whether we would have done it again, all that good stuff. And yeah, so stay tuned because there is some horror stories here that some folks would want to see before they actually buy a JP heater. So we talked through the timeline of kind of the experience that we've had. So I think it was around December 2023, so just over a year ago, that we decided, okay, because of the troubles we were having with the Truma gas versions that we had in both of our motorhomes, we were going to look for other options. And obviously the two options there were three options really. So you had buy another gas Truma, buy a diesel Truma, or buy something else and make another plan. And so when we looked at the first option, because LPG is getting harder and harder to find here in the UK, made the decision we were going to go diesel. And at the time, the Truma diesel was about double the price of the gas version. And now it's come down significantly in price. It's probably about 50% more in price than the LPG version, which is really attractive. But then the third option was a JP heater or something equivalent. And we did a bunch of research on the JP heater, looked at videos, spoke to people, actually got in touch with people that had fitted them or had them fitted and had good experience with them. And so we decided, okay, well, we'll bite the bullet and we'll try it and see what happens. And so we ordered the first one in December 2023, fitted it January 2024 into my dad's van, and then ran it for a couple of months. And in the first couple of months that my dad had it, it was great. It was stable, no issues, all that sort of stuff. And then we decided, okay, well, it seems to be good, so we'll order another one and fit it into my van. So about end of, I think it was mid-March, somewhere around there, we ordered one for me. We only landed up fitting it, I think, end of April, beginning of May into my van. So sort of end of spring, beginning of summer was when we fitted it into my van. And then sort of beginning of the summer, my folks went away in their van somewhere. And while they were away, the JP heater stopped working, and they got error codes and things like that. Eventually, with communicating with JP, they were able to determine that it was the combustion fan in the heater that had failed, and therefore it could no longer run on diesel. It could still run on electric. No, my dad's busy shaking his head. Couldn't run on electric, so they had no heating whatsoever. Is that right? No heating whatsoever, and no hot water? Nothing. So it was completely, it was just a paperweight at that point without a combustion fan. Obviously, JP said, okay, well, we'll send out a new combustion fan under warranty, all that sort of stuff. It took them a long time to dispatch it, though. I think they actually forgot about it initially, because about 2 weeks later, we emailed and said, hey, where's this combustion fan? They're like, oh, haven't sent it yet. And then eventually, I guess they jumped around and got it back to us, and we had it sort of 10 days later. But it was the best part of sort of 3 weeks that we waited for that combustion fan. Changed it. Unfortunately, we could do it in situ without actually having to remove the heater, the whole Combi boiler, and we could do it in the van. So we did that, and touch wood, that's pretty much the only major issue that my dad has had with his installation of the JP heater, which is good. Not ideal that something as critical as that failed within 4 months of actually using the heater, but not too bad when you consider that's the only thing that's happened in the last year. Me, on the other hand, I've had an absolute horror show with the JP heater. So fitted it sort of April time, 2024. By, I think, June, we were due to go on our first trip in the motorhome after fitting the JP heater, and went off on our trip, and like, in my mirror, I could see smoke absolutely piling out of the heater while we were driving. And eventually I was like, I can smell diesel. There's something not right here. And like the smell of diesel was getting stronger and stronger. Pulled over into like a lay-by, opened the garage of my motorhome, and I could just see like diesel on the floor in the garage, which is a nightmare. Like that's literally what nightmares are made of. And so in the lay-by, emptied a whole bunch of stuff from the garage, tried to figure out what was going on, where was it actually leaking from, and found that it was actually dripping from the bottom of the JP heater. I'll put some videos over this video so you can actually see that, like, it was literally pouring diesel out of the bottom of the heater. And yeah, so literally on the lay-by on our trip, pulled the fuel line out of the JP heater. I actually landed up taking the whole JP heater out, which had completely filled with diesel, like the entire, I don't know, combustion chamber or something, completely filled with diesel. Both the exhaust and the air intake are completely full of diesel, as you can see here. Emptied that and then left it just loose and sealed up the fuel line so that it couldn't actually leak anymore. Cleaned it up as much as we could, and then we were literally like, do we carry on the trip for a bit or do we go home? And like the kids were super excited about the trip, so we landed up just carrying on and making the most of it. Still went on the trip, obviously no heating and no water, which wasn't the end of the world because it was summer, but we just carried on with it. And fortunately, we've been able to clean the van fine and there's no smell of diesel in the back there. So that's a positive, but I was pretty nervous about that. I was worried that we would never get that smell of diesel out of there, but fortunately, we have been able to. So that was the first issue that I had. Fast forward to, I worked with JP. We tried to figure out never actually found what was the cause of that issue with the diesel, but literally the heater just filled with diesel to the point where it was just overflowing out of the heater. There was probably 3 to 5 liters of diesel inside the heater, which it shouldn't have done. And I guess the most alarming thing to me was that there was no safety net or anything to stop it from doing that. So sort of as there was no error message or anything like that, and it was just filling it with diesel, which was very concerning. In my mind, there should be some level of a safety mechanism and like an error that it threw that would stop it from doing that, or it should have some sort of sensor that is like, yeah, this thing's filling up with diesel. Let's not keep pumping diesel into it, or something along those lines. So that was the first issue. The second issue was about October-ish last year, so 2024. So sort of 3 or 4 months later, we were due to go on a trip again, and while we were preparing and getting everything ready, started getting an error message on the JP heater. So it would try and start up, and actually you'd hear it trying to start up and burn diesel, and then it would make some funny noises and then stop, and we'd get an error code on the display. Got in touch with JP. Eventually they were like, okay, well, try this, try that, check the voltage of the wires going to the heater, check this, check a few things, make sure there's nothing obstructing the air intake or the exhaust, all those sort of basic checks. And then eventually they said, okay, well, check the resistance on the wires for the glow plug in the heater. We checked that and the resistance was wrong, which then meant that the glow plug was faulty. So again, they have to send a replacement under warranty, but it means that we don't have a heater in the van for a couple of weeks at least, until we can actually get to fit that. And that was a rigmarole. We've put a video on here on the channel already. I'll link that down below if you want to see that on how do you change the glow plug. But it's a very involved process. There was no ways we were doing that inside the van. You have to dismantle the heater a lot to actually get to that. So we took the heater out, dismantled it, changed the glow plug, put it back together, the thing fired up and it worked fine. Went on more trips over winter, and then just a few weeks ago, literally 2 months since that happened, we were due. My wife and I were due to go away for the weekend, and literally we were starting to pack the van on the Friday, turned the heating on to start getting everything ready, and error code straight away. And I Googled, what does that error code mean? And it's like glow plug immediately. And so what are the chances anyway? Went through the same process with JP, checked air intake, checked fuel, checked power going to the heater. All that's fine. Checked the resistance on the glow plug wires, and glow plug is gone again. So 2 months after the first glow plug went, the second one's gone now. So now I'm waiting for another glow plug from JP. So that's our experience, just the two of us with the heater. We've also fitted heaters for other people since we have been using it as well. And it's been very mixed bag experience, but overall not that positive. It would appear that JP, they're just not as refined as like a Truma. The error handling is nowhere near as good. There's nowhere near as many sort of safety mechanisms and thresholds that the heater monitors to ensure that something catastrophic doesn't happen. So yeah, all that to say, if you're considering putting in a JP heater into your van, I would probably recommend avoiding it, because my experience is that we get ready to go on a trip and we start getting the van ready and then the heating's not working. And so now I'm looking at other options, and I'll see if we can keep the JP heater running for a while, or I'm actually just going to bite the bullet and put a diesel Truma in there and just get rid of the JP heater. I mean, to JP's credit, they are enthusiastic to help you resolve issues and send spare parts and stuff like that. What I don't want is to be prepping for a trip and then go to turn the heating on and the heater's not working. That's just a pain, because then my kids are excited about going away on a trip, and then we have to make the decision, well, do we just go and live on the trip without heating, or do we cancel the trip? If it's midwinter, obviously, I'm not a fan of going to the motorhome with no heating. So yeah, it's just not ideal to have something that's as unreliable as that. And it's literally like a lucky packet. Like, is it going to work this time or not type thing. That's been our experience so far. So in summary, there you go. I would probably avoid the JP heater and stick with Truma or something like that. Often in life, when something seems too good to be true, like there's a heater that's as good as the Truma that's half the price, it's too good to be true. And I guess we were just hopeful, or it was wishful thinking that this would be the case, but that's not been our experience. So anyway, hopefully this has been helpful for you if you're trying to decide on a JP heater or not. And if not, then you can gloat at our woes that we've faced this year with the JP heater. But thanks for watching, folks, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.